This week on the Hollywood and Toto podcast, life imitates art, sort of. A new HBO Max movie named Mountainhead does dissect some current headlines and gives us a peek into the future, but turns out the future is already here. And we talked to the great Kurt Schlichter about his new book, Los Angeles. It is not what you expect from Kurt Schlichter. I say that it's a good thing, but I want to share the curveball he throws our way and his interesting partner in crime this time around.
Welcome to the Hollywood and Toto podcast. Entertainment news and reviews without the woke Hollywood narrative. Free speech, free expression. Now that's entertainment. And here's your host, award-winning film critic, Christian Toto.
The new movie Mountainhead is one of those ripped from the headline movies that says a lot more than you expect. This is an HBO Max presentation created by the same person who did Succession, and it's a story about four tech bros who gather at this posh winter resort to bond and bicker and tease each other a little bit and discuss the work they do, often involving social media. Well, it turns out one of the four key players here has made this AI improvement to his platform, and it's causing chaos.
The president wants to speak to us.
The prez, what could he possibly have said?
That your platform's inflamed a volatile situation, circulating unfalsifiable deep fakes, massive fraud, market instability.
Because when you flood the zone with AI, well, someone can make a fake AI video that causes real world harm. Violence ensues, and now we have to figure out what to do about it. That's one of the key elements of the story here. Wasn't fully satisfied with Mountainhead. I thought the characters were a bit one-dimensional. There's so much hate towards this quartet. You can tell that the creator of this particular film, Jesse Armstrong, loathes Elon Musk and wanted to use this as a vehicle to get that out. That's fine, but you got to tell a good story first and foremost. But what I wanted to focus on is the AI element. The movie's theme is that what if an AI video came out and caused real world consequences? We are so close to that happening. You know, when it comes to electoral politics, I've often wondered, imagine if it was 2 days before Election Day. Let's just say it's 2024. And there's a new video and it shows Kamala Harris swatting an 8-year-old child. Or there's a video of Donald Trump saying the N-word in private conversation. Now, we know both would be fake, but would we be able to determine that in time? Would enough voters say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not going to vote for a guy who's using the N-word, or I thought Harris was nice. Why would she swat that poor little boy? That's what I worry about. I think I'm not alone there. So these are real world situations that could be happening pretty soon. But I think the twist to Mountainhead, which they don't realize, I don't think at all, is that in a way this is happening right now.
Welcome to the future, brah.
Let me backtrack a bit. This is not about AI yet. It is about fake news. Now, a day or two ago, there were a whole bunch of reports from the legacy media saying that Israel forces had shot and killed multiple Palestinians for the crime of gathering to collect food and supplies. Obviously, the people of Gaza are struggling. Some are starving. There's an issue there. Won't go into that in detail. We know the context. But how ghastly for Israeli forces to do that. What could they be thinking? It's unconscionable. It's unacceptable. And it didn't happen.
Fake news.
But we didn't learn that right away. The mainstream media just picked up that Hamas narrative straight from the source. The terrorists. Wasn't true. And then, after this had circulated on social media, after a lot of people had heard about it from seemingly legitimate sources, a man in Boulder attacked some people gathering to help release the Israeli hostages in Gaza. This alleged terrorist threw flammable liquid on them, burned some of them, sent several people to the hospital, and screamed, "Free Palestine." Now, did that person see those headlines about Israel allegedly shooting the Palestinians and act? Or were they reacting to other fake news headlines we've seen week after week after week attacking Israel? Or was he crazy? Or was it all the above?
Journalism is dead.
We just don't know. But the more fake stories being pushed out by the media that cast a group in a very, very, very negative light, the more chances there are that incidents like what happened in Boulder, Colorado will keep on happening. And that's what really chilled me about Mountainhead after I saw the movie. Yes, that AI threat is real. Yes, it could be happening sooner than you think. Yes, as a society, we've got to deal with that. And yes, good for this movie, albeit flawed, for pointing that out. That is what satire does. It examines things, it gives us a fresh perspective, and it also offers a cautionary tale a time or two. It's exactly the case with Mountainhead. I really can't recommend it as a movie, but you should know about it for sure, at the very least. So, what happened here? We don't know. But with the rise of fake news, and it's getting worse and worse, and again, not from some crazy website, not from Alex Jones's InfoWars empire, we're talking about CNN and the Washington Post. The reality we're facing now is scary and chilling, and somebody should make a movie about it. But just don't hold your breath, because Hollywood will never, ever hold fake news accountable. That's a story to be told by someone else. How does Kurt Schlichter do it? The guy's a practicing attorney. He's a columnist at townhall.com, and he's always working on new novels. If you've read any of the Kelly Turnbull series, you know how good they are, how action-packed they are, and how prescient they could be about the world around us. We just talked a little bit about Mountainhead and how that movie kind of predicted the future or teased the future that's a little bit chilling. Well, Kurt Schlichter books do just that, except his newest doesn't. The new book is called Los Angeles, Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip, and it's a noir-like story. It's set in the 1940s in Los Angeles, and it involves detectives and gumshoes and violence and demigods. Yeah, the twist here is that there's a real big fantasy element that's been woven into this particular genre and woven quite seamlessly. Now, I will say, as hardworking as Kurt is, he had a little help this time around. His wife, Irina Moises, helped co-write the books, a bit of a change of pace from the usual Kurt Schlichter novel. So wanted to talk to him about the new book, about the partnership, about why he wrote it, and what really inspired it, and also just get his thoughts on pop culture in general. There's so much change going on in Hollywood, and especially the right-of-center pop culture space, which is finally a thing and maturing in rather interesting ways. So who better than Kurt Schlichter to kind of weigh in on that and give us some perspective on what's going right, maybe what's going wrong as well. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Kurt Schlichter. Again, always a treat to speak to him. He's always hard at work at a new novel. He even teases another book coming away sooner than later. But for now, let's talk about Los Angeles, about pop culture, and about what makes Kurt Schlichter tick, because I'm dying to know. Well, Kurt, it's not an insult to say this is the last book in the world I expected from you, but it is. I just didn't see you taking this particular fictional detour. It's wonderful, and there's tons of world building, and we're going to get into a lot of this. But from your perspective, you know, you've done so much work with the Kelly Turnbull series. You've done more serious writing. This is just like out of the blue. I imagine it was maybe a palate cleanser, but you tell me, why did you go in this particular direction with Los Angeles?
Well, look, Irina and I decided we wanted to do something that was fun. Because, and I think you'll agree with me, fun is underrated, especially among conservatives. Now, you knew Andrew Breitbart too. Andrew was a fun guy.
Oh, yeah.
If you had, it was always an adventure when you were with Andrew. He did great things. He was a visionary. He was an organizer and an agitator. But he was fun, and he liked to have fun. And I want to be part of a movement that's fun. And Los Angeles, Silver Bullets Over Sunset Strip, is a fun book. Now, I've always tried to make my books fun. The People's Republic books have a lot of humor in them, a lot of serious stuff. Even The Attack has some humor in it. I don't think you can necessarily, that you need to necessarily make everything grim. Okay, it's not an art film. All right, I want to make to the extent I want to make points. I've got to make it so people want to read the book. If you read Los Angeles, you're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy it. That's the word that keeps coming back to us from people who've read it. It was fun. Great.
Yeah,
and like you, they're like, I didn't expect a 40s noir with fantasy stuff, and it's still got guns, and there's a lot of little conservative Easter eggs in it.
Yeah.
I have a rule about writing. and I think you'll appreciate this. My rule is all good parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I was an album, I'd probably be like London Calling, right? I mean, look, there's some bad songs on London Calling that I don't personally like,
Mm-hmm.
but there are a lot of people who like them. Okay, it's not like there's any filler.
Yeah,
everything on there is a song that could stand on its own and somebody could like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and some of it's great. London Calling is great. Train in Vain is great, but that's why I try and do with the books. I'm not going to stop and have, the hero talk about how his daddy didn't love him enough. I get so sick of watching streaming shows where they cram 5 hours a show into 8 episodes. And they have to have like filler. So they've got like 20 minutes with, 20% of it's the teenage daughter who drives the plot by not listening to anybody. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
The check your phone moments in the shows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want, everything has to hit. And this, I think part of this is being a trial lawyer where everything you have page limits.
Yeah.
Right. Every sentence should make a point. And when you're talking to a jury, the same way. But also when I was a stand-up comic, right? You want everything to hit. Everything is either setup, punch, or attack. There's nothing extraneous. Yeah. There are no worse. The perfect comic may be Rodney Dangerfield. Because everything is, I went to my doctor. I asked for a second opinion. He said, "You're also fat." It's so lean and perfect that by the time you're done, all you've done is laugh. You haven't gone, He's not like, but seriously, folks, no. And Irina, of course, was with me by my side while I was doing stand-up. So she's very much along that too. And, she's very much, this doesn't work. This doesn't do anything for the plot.
Yeah.
Everything in the plot should lead to something else. Nothing should just happen. And it should all be fun. You should be able to pick up the book at any place and start reading, and something interesting is in the process of happening. You're either learning something, or you're having a laugh, or there's an action sequence. Everything, all good parts. And that's what we brought to Los Angeles. Because, Irina and I both have a very similar tastes. She knows more about fantasy stuff than me. So she kind of helped with it. Because there's like Greek gods running around, and that's fun in its own way. And also, what a chance to start talking in the 40s lingo.
Yeah.
Hey, Mac, where's the dame? Kind of stuff. It's just fun.
It's irresistible. Now, I imagine that Irina was kind of your best partner, your best editor when it came to writing the books. Now you're working together.
Yes.
What made you jump into that sort of collaboration? Because listen, you're married, you're happily married, but sometimes, that when you work together, sometimes maybe that's not always the best idea, but it obviously worked out well.
We had fun doing it. It took it to a new level because she's always reading the stuff. She's always critiquing it. Here she was, actively participating. We're actively kicking ideas around with each other, and we're trying to figure out, how do we make this plot work? How does everything stream together? Are there any plot holes? I did a lot of the typing because I type very fast. But she's there working on it, giving, and also there's a major female character in it. The other detective. Yeah. And I don't know if I know how to write females. So I couldn't have done, I wouldn't have done this, and I couldn't have done this all alone. This was something we did together. I think it was a lot of fun.
I think one of the challenges of a project like this, where you're taking a genre and giving it the old twist, is that you've got a world. It's sort of the new phrase, world building. So if you're having could be a superhero movie or a fantasy or a Jurassic World, whatever. This is world building. I think you did it quite well, because I get lost pretty easily, and I felt like I was in pretty early on in the novel. Did you find that challenging to kind of get people up to speed?
I love that part of it. I love creating it, and I did it with the Kelly Turnbull series. The whole purpose of the attack, which I did in an oral history thing.
Mhm.
You may have read World War Z. Studs Terkel used to write like it back in the 80s. The World War III books were actually done in that. And you do that so you don't have to have a character who's Forrest Gumping everywhere. So I could go to the White House and I write about a character who's at the White House and he tells his story, what happened during this attack. Then like a mom in Chicago, a guy at the border, a terrorist. And but it's really allowing me to build the world that is the attack. So by the time you're done with the book, you have a very complete picture of the threat that I'm talking about and how people might react to it and how things might go. So you're dead on with the world building. I love to create a world, and Arena loves that part too, where we're just, what are the rules here? How does this work? How do you have Greek gods that just don't magically become kings of everything?
Yeah.
Why is that? And is it something that's, crazy, or is it something convincing and honest to the story? So
and also to keep it consistent too, because if you build that world and all of a sudden you're changing the rules for plot purposes, then you've lost the audience.
Yeah. No, we built the rules and then we built the plot around it. And we're gonna probably do a sequel down the road. People have been asking for one already, which is fun. By the way, they say people don't read anymore. People read ferociously. Yeah. I mean, we're just getting, oh yeah, I read it. That was my one of this week's books. People are just swallowing up books. Now, one of when we get back to Andrew Breitbart here, Andrew Breitbart said we have to take control of culture. Thanks to Amazon, I don't have to go through a publisher for these. Now, I've done that at least 4 times with other books, with nonfiction books, right? And you go through it and you submit it and they tell you what they like and don't like. And it's 8 or 9 months before you see a book come out. And then they don't really help you sell it. I was getting people, helping me with publicity who had fewer contacts on their phone than I had on. And, with these, I have, professional quality books that I can get out fast. I'm going to have another book, an oral history of our second Civil War. It's going to be out in July because I'm just going to get it done. Yeah. I'm going to get my art done. I'm going to get it revised and edited. And then I'm just going to release it. I'm not going to, I don't have to go through a giant process. And no one cares. That's the thing. If it says Simon and is Simon and Schuster on a book or Amazon Kindle, no one cares. It's all content is king. Distribution became the big. Distribution was always the gatekeeper, and Andrew was such a advocate of getting rid of the gatekeepers. Amazon simply said, we're getting rid of the gatekeepers. Here's a process where it's very simple technically. Also, a lot of the work that you do is satirical and can be time sensitive. So if you've got that 8-month gap, some of the points you're making and some of the connections you're drawing may get lost. I want to talk a little bit about the book because, with your Turnbull books and other projects, it's often uncomfortable how you talk about something today, and then we're reading about it in a month or less. I'm like, oh, please, Kurt, could you give us a little guardrail here? And this one, on paper, can't allow that because it's set in the 40s, but you've kind of flipped the script here with Trixie, one of the main characters, where she has a unique ability. Can you tease that a little bit? Because I love that part of the book. The thing about Trixie Gamble, who's kind of the this very elegant, very smart female detective, smarter than the hero, the main hero, Eddie Loud, who likes to solve things with his fists. She's very smart. But she is a descendant of Cassandra, who was, of course, the Trojan woman who Apollo cursed to be able to predict the future, kind of, and for no one to believe her. And she regularly predicts all sorts of insane things that are going to happen in Los Angeles. Someday, they come across, Oscar winners, right? Of course, there's movie stars all over the place. And, And she's kind of like, wow, someday they're gonna have a man
Yeah.
be nominated as Best Actress. And of course, Eddie's like, you're crazy. Have you been hitting the sauce? So there's a lot of fun in that. I think people appreciate that. One guy said, well, you did a little too much. All right, you're never going to please everybody. But I think, when you have a book that I write or that Arena has a part of, you're always going to have the conservative Easter eggs.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been mentioning Andrew Breitbart a lot, and I still can't believe he's gone.
I know,
but I also think he was right about so much, and he touched so many people's lives. I mean, I always bump into people who said, yeah, Andrew called me up, or he texted me, or he encouraged me. What do you think he'd make of the moment we're in right now? I feel like so much has changed. There's been a lot of progress.
He'd be so proud of us. You look at the, you're also out of the Breitbart world. That's where I started as a writer after Andrew basically, strong-armed me into joining big Hollywood. But look at us all. We've all built our own kind of unique career. You've managed to build this career as kind of the go-to conservative media voice. I know, when a show needs somebody to talk about Hollywood, they call you.
Yeah.
I've got my books. I guest host radio shows. Of course, I'm a senior columnist at Town Hall. Ben Shapiro is, of course, Ben Shapiro.
And a rapper, too, now with Tom McDonald, by the way.
I'm sorry?
Ben Shapiro did a rap song with Tom McDonald called Facts.
Dear
so,
God.
yeah.
I was his lawyer for a while. I was like the only lawyer a lot of these Breitbart people knew. So I was like the lawyer for everybody. I would have advised maybe not. But Dana Lash, hugely successful. Derek Hunter.
Yeah. Larry O'Connor.
Larry O'Connor, of course. And we've all built out our own things in our own ways.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, and that's just us. There's Andrew would go on any show, anytime. Larry and I joke that, hey, Kurt, you got up at 4 a.m. to do the Fargo, North Dakota morning zoo with Gibo and the Boner. And it's like true. If somebody calls me and says, hey, I'm into like a 5,000 watt station in, rural Minnesota, could you spare a few minutes? Of course.
Yeah.
Because, if you're going to get a few more listeners because I show up, great. That's what we do. We help each other.
But given all that, and given the progress, and kind of sort of given his graduates, if for lack of a better phrase, what's next? Because it's still a David versus Goliath when you think about Hollywood and the media and the platforms and Netflix, and we're still outgunned in a monumental fashion despite the progress we're making. What do you think needs to happen next?
I think we will continue to be outgunned for a while, but the sheer volume of content that we're generating is going to make it impossible for us not to have a cultural impact. The next big distribution hurdle is, of course, movies and series.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you want a series, you got to get on Amazon, Netflix, whatever. And those guys, for instance, the Kelly Turnbull stuff is made for the movies. And it's literally made of the movie. I grew up watching the great movies of the 60s and 70s. I have a very visual writing style. I literally transcribe a movie I'm watching. That's my writing system. I watch the movie in my head of what's happening, and I transcribe it. Some people, I write the book in my head. I make the movie in my head, then I write the book in my head, then I write the book on paper. So this stuff would work for film. It's going to take somebody going, I'm going to defy the people around me, and I'm going to go make this. And it's going to happen someday. It has to. There's just enough of it out there where it just builds up. Of course, Los Angeles would be great too, as a movie or a series. But one mistake we made as conservatives looking at entertainment, and I don't know if we may have talked about this before because I've had this theory for a while. We were economic determinists, right? We were very standard conservatives early on, and we've kind of changed. But we thought as soon as Hollywood figures out it's leaving money on the table, they're gonna rush to make movies out of our stuff. No, because they're not purely driven by economics. Yeah. That's a factor. It always will be. But they're also determined. It's also cultural.
Yeah.
They don't. They won't let my kid in the private school if I'm doing People's Republic. I mean, look what Bill Kristol said. Bill Kristol called him a racist. It said it was appalling. My kid won't get into Crossroads or Harvard Westlake. So Hollywood is not purely driven by economics. If it was, I think we'd have a better chance. Yeah. So as barriers come down to production, as smaller production companies are able to use CGI and other technology to ramp up production, and the CGI stuff, even in like direct to video stuff, is getting kind of amazing.
Yeah,
and it's getting reasonably priced. Eventually, somebody's going to be able to handle the cultural headwinds and be able to do some of this conservative stuff. What Daily Wire's already trying.
Yeah. This would piss off Justine Bateman, who's very anti-AI. But do you think that AI could be the secret sauce here, where a Kelly Turnbull story you got to have some money there, because it's big, it's bold, it's action-packed. You can't do it on the cheap. But if you use AI to kind of cut some corners and make those differences, could that be the sort of the pathway forward?
I think that's going to be part of it. You can't just you can't use, and I greatly respect Justine Bateman. I know people who know her. She's a great person. I know.
Yeah, I am teasing her a little bit, but
I know. But no. But the thing is, you can't use artistic credentials to keep the gate shut. You're not going to say, well, we're not going to allow you to, you might be able to make this a thing, but you'd violate these arbitrary artistic rules, so you can't do it. Oh, okay, then we just won't be heard. It's not going to, it can't work.
Yeah.
Eventually someone's going to go, nah, I want to try. Obviously I would prefer somebody walk in with $70 million and say, let's make People's Republic with some, well, I think Tom Cruise is a little small, but then again, he played Jack Reacher twice. But I don't think you can forever sideline people simply by creating arbitrary artistic guardrails that can't be crossed.
Yeah.
And you just happen to be the only guy who can function in a world where those guardrails are respected. Okay, we see a lot of that in our institutions, right? Yeah. A lot of the institutions are, I'm going to set the rules, which happen to give me a monopoly. And one of the great things about the new cultural movement, the new conservative movement, that Rush and Andrew and of course Donald Trump have said, is we don't play by your rules.
Yeah. So
I think the short answer is yes. I think it's possible, but we don't want to make. For a long time, a lot of our movies were not great. We made a lot of bad movies. They looked bad. They were badly produced. They were badly written. The comedies weren't funny. But now, keep in mind, that's also true for Hollywood.
Yeah, it's baby steps.
But Hollywood makes, well, now it makes maybe 50 movies a year, 100 movies. We make 3. So if you got 2 that are bad, 2/3 of your movies are bad. If Hollywood makes 20 bad, okay, that's 1/5 of them are bad. I don't like those odds.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, Kurt, you've done a lot in this space. I mean, obviously you do political commentary, radio work. You kind of wear many, many hats, lawyer, you name it. Is there something in the pop culture space you still want to do? You mentioned stand-up comedy before. Is that something you could return to? Do you think you could be more of a video series? I mean, I'm kind of curious. You've cracked the code. The books do very well. You're prolific. I'm just kind of curious if there's a part of the pop culture landscape you still have your eye on.
Look, I mean, I obviously would like to get these things adapted for movies.
Mm.
I plan to write more books, at least 2 a year.
Yeah.
Podcasting's always a potential. I mean, that's almost becoming a cliche, you know, for, you know, if you're, you know, if you're in a Hollywood bar, you know, everybody is, oh, I'm also a DJ, and among conservatives, I'm also a podcaster.
Yeah.
But opportunities are going to arise that I haven't thought of yet.
Yeah.
That's one of the beautiful things that is going on. Who anticipated Twitter, where I get to go on and be essentially do stand up anytime I want?
Yeah.
But also political commentary, longer form stuff if I want. I don't know what's coming down the pike, Christian. I don't know, but I'm excited about it because everything's an opportunity, and we're the ones who are agile. Have you noticed that all the new media is where we have succeeded? The left is stuck in the dying networks, right? It's stuck dying newspapers. It's stuck in, you know, Hollywood, which is changing dramatically, obviously. They own the old stuff. We own all the new stuff. So
yeah. And they're trying to figure out who their Joe Rogan was when they actually had the Joe Rogan and they kicked him out. So
yeah, he was Joe Rogan. I mean, look, the guy is a pot-smoking, libertarianist, kind of actor, comedian guy who probably never voted. And now he's, you know, turning young men on to Trump, which is great. He's in the right place. But, you know, we see this all the time with the institutions. There's been a long march through the institutions. The boomers have taken the institutions and they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
You know, whatever happened to the good old fashioned Irish goodbye? These guys are like the ones who it's like 1 o'clock, the party's long over, and they're like, so do you got any other vodkas or wine or anything? You know, and it's like, would you go home, Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah.
They're all old. They're all tired. Their energy is AOC. I'm no fan of hers, but she's energetic. She was cute until she started packing on the pounds. But you know, I mean, look, obviously there's a demographic a bit like larger women. I don't know, but I don't know. Don't care. Not my problem.
There's a new demographic for her then.
Exactly. She can be on a ticket with Sir Mix-a-Lot. But man, that used to be a hip reference.
I just thought that young MC is 58 years
Darren.
old. I thought might be time for rebranding, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I think it's I think the energy's with us right now. And the beauty of it is the ethic among kind of the guys like us are kind of the first class who came through after Andrew, right? We're the farthest out there. But there's a lot of folks coming up, and the ethic for us is not to drive them out.
Yeah.
Right? We don't I mean, I don't, and I think most of us feel this. I feel zero challenge from some 25-year-old who starts a column, gets a cool new cool new Twitter account where he's doing lots of cool stuff, has a podcast. I don't feel threatened by it. I think it's kind of cool.
Join the party.
I mean, look, I'd rather it be a big party, right? Big parties are, you know, I prefer a big party. So I think I'm excited about the future. I think it's I've always been optimistic. Look, like Andrew, I'm a Californian. I'm always going to be optimistic. You know, thank you. Otherwise, I'd hang myself being right. Well, no, I look. I think good things are going to come, and I think if you check back in 5 years, we're probably, I would not be surprised if one of my books is in production somewhere.
Yeah. And if that happens, more will be on the way. But Kurt, thank you so much for joining the show. Of course, the book is Los Angeles, Silver Bullets on the Sunset Strip. You can get it at Amazon. Can you get it other places as well? Or is
just
Amazon?
Get it at Amazon.
Okay. Excellent.
And you get hardcover, you get an audio book. That's another thing, man. Now you can do essentially AI audiobooks with a little adjustment. You can get a very clear, well-spoken audio book for people who prefer that. And that's great.
Yeah.
You know?
And Kurt's a real pioneer in this space, self-publishing, speaking right to your audience, getting a following, and then treating them right, which you do again and again. And of course, this time with Arena, that's a great change.
Yeah, it's so
But,
much fun having her a part of this. I mean, we
Yeah.
do everything because I stopped doing law, so I'm hanging around the house all the time.
That's right.
So I guess we had to do something, right?
There you go. Very constructive. But Kurt, thanks so much. I love your vision for the future. I love your energy. And I love the fact that part of that Breitbart graduate class, part of the people who are changing things and not just sitting there and complaining, you're actually making pop culture and doing it quite well. So thanks again. And we'll look forward to your next book pretty darn soon, too. But read this one first.
Well, you'll see it in July. Thanks
That's
a
right.
lot.
Thank you. Your character actor of the week is Paul Winfield. Well, that's it for the show this week. Again, thank you to Radio America for having me as part of their great podcast lineup. And if you enjoy this show, in addition to giving it a like, a subscribe, a share, doing all those digital things, do check out HollywoodInToto.com. It is my website, my home base. It is 11 years old now, still going strong. And of course, it's got news, reviews, commentary from a right of center perspective, much like this show. Never want to scare away our center left friends. They are welcome to visit, check out what's going on. There's a lot of apolitical content there, film reviews. I publish a lot of work from the great Barry Wurst. He's a wonderful film critic, apolitical to the core, but gosh, his perceptions on art and culture and film, especially looking back at films from 20, 30, 40 years ago, it's one of a kind. So even if you hate my reviews, go check out Barry Wurst. And a quick final note, this show is coming to you late. Again, I am struggling. Again, I've got a lot of stuff on my plate. There's something personal that I'm dealing with, which is pretty profound. Doesn't have anything to do with health, thank goodness, but it's got me bogged down and I can't go into it, but I am horribly sorry about the delays. I really have a focus on this video podcast, on creating more content for YouTube and of course, iTunes and elsewhere if you're listening to us there. I'm sorry. I'm trying. It will get better. Just give me I need to take a knee now and then, but I will push forward. It'll get better as time goes on. Just wanted to be transparent and clear and apologetic as well. So that's it for this week's show. I hope everyone out there has a wonderful week. Doctor's orders.